Good morning. You can see, whoops, you can see the sun, the morning sun breaking over the mountains behind me. Okay. I hope that your Christmas was wonderful. And now I'm Catholic, and so my Christmas season just began. We've had Advent, excuse me, let me pull this up just a little bit so you have to see my hands constantly monitoring everything I'm doing. Um, so for Catholics, we have a Christmas season. And so we do not have to push put everything into one day. Our Christmas season didn't start till Christmas morning, and up until that time was Advent. And so we've tried to follow the life of Christ. Uh-oh, I may have to take this. Um, just a second. I need to just text this person super quick. But Catholics have a um, okay. So I'm sorry. I'll try to cut that out. I don't really know how to cut things out live, but anyway. So our our Christmas season started at midnight on Christmas Day, the in the morning, 12 a.m. And it goes until, well, I mean, it depends on where your background is and the kind of Catholics. Um, a lot of people go into the 1st of February, which since I didn't get any of my outside decorations up until the last minute, so I'm just going to keep them up till February until our HOA comes and says, "Please get it down." So anyway, so I would like to just real quick before I get into what I want to talk about is I want to tell you my husband said that the hospital was absolute mass chaos yesterday, that a whole bunch of people called in sick because it was Christmas. And he said he's never seen, when you don't have enough doctors and nurses on Christmas, it gets dangerous for the patients. And I can't tell you, the stories he tells me. He never, I mean, Arthur never ever does the HIPAA thing. I mean, he's super careful not to give names or anything like that, but it just generalizations about how crazy things were. But anyway, it was bad. You guys, we need some more doctors and nurses out there, and especially ones that are willing to show up and and it's hard. I understand it's hard, but I would think that because Christmas is a season for Catholics, that you would have more Catholics showing up on Christmas because they've got an entire season. And one of the most wonderful things is when Christmas isn't just one day, when it's a season, then you can. We've got Protestant in-laws. Some of our in-laws are Protestant, and just let the Protestants have their children, on the day. And I'm so happy to give that up for my son and his in-laws because they only have a day, and then they can come and see me when during this Christmas season. We can do our Christmas season. We can do our Christmas during that time. So anyway, that's one of the big, huge pluses of having a season for Christmas. Okay, so what I was thinking this morning, pondering, and I don't take myself super seriously about anything, and you hear that in my tone of voice and the way I put things out is, we're all just humans. we're doing our best, but my ponderings are deadly serious. And I literally want to hear people's opinions, and how they think. But I watch what Elon Musk does. He is setting up a time frame in the future where people don't have to work. He's going to send robots to terraform Mars, and he is trying to bring in utopia because he doesn't believe in God. He loves, I know that he loves the culture of Christians. I mean, he says that, and he seems like a nice guy in many ways for an atheist. You know, he has. I think he's got a great heart. I mean, you see him with his children. I think that he really truly loves his children. And for a billionaire, I think he has some very great ideas. But he is like the conservative Bill Gates. You know, Bill Gates wants to reform the world in his view of what utopia is, and everybody is giving him money in it and getting shots, and he wants to decrease the surplus population, as Scrooge would say. He wants to decrease the world's population, where Elon Musk is the opposite. He wants to make it expand because we've got to terraform Mars so it can take a few billion people, and then the next thing is that he wants to just take over the universe with humans, and I love that. I mean, if we're going to look at a vision for the future, Elon's is pretty magnificent. Um, so he's trying to go to Mars, and he wants it where people do not have to work. Now, I don't think that's such a good idea. I think our bodies were meant to work. I think God made us so where we do have to strive. Our muscles need to push against something. Our minds need to push against something. We need to grow uh, in our character, and that means physical work. That was what was the penance in Scripture for Adam, was that physical work, getting out there, striving and building a kingdom. And for women, it was the physical work of having children and taking care of children. So I think that it sounds good for no one to have to work. It sounds good to get away from a monetary system. And but we have to be very careful that we can look through the eyes of creation and say, wait, this isn't such a great idea. And all you know that. I'm not trying to say that's any new idea, but this is what I was thinking about this morning. You know, um, human beings, learning has been experiential for 95% of human existence, depending on how long you think humans have been around on the earth. But the vast, vast majority, people learned through experience and being taught by their, children would work with their parents and learn about life through working with their parents, um, and watching their dad. They were apprentices to life. And then all of a sudden, we decided, because we put mom and dad in the workforce, and I'm talking more or less during the Industrial Revolution, when people lost their land and everybody started to work, and they went from being the Lord, maybe not the Lord of their land, but at least a lot of people had land that they felt were their own, even if the Lord of the manor owned it. They would only have to pay a certain amount of taxes or produce for the feudal lord, and they really were autonomous in many, many ways. They were very autonomous in this situation, where during the Industrial Revolution, people either couldn't afford their land, gave it over. And I mean, it depends on where you lived. In some of the English speaking areas, I'm able to research because wrote history was written in English, and so it's hard to really think about other and know their histories when I don't read German, I don't read French, and so it's very difficult in Italian. So unless it's written in English, you're only going to really know the English speaking history, basically, unless you go to if somebody it tells you. So anyway, our the way we learned was we watched but it was a lot of we didn't read. In other words, reading books were not the way most people learned. It was how scholars learned. You would send your children off to the university and they would learn by reading. And but the rest of us learned orally and um, experientially. Okay. So I'm projecting this into the future. What is our future going to look like? Because here, okay, I know this is going to sound silly. I'm bringing it down to just very practical. These big ideas, down to practical. Okay, my generation was raised with rock music, loud, very loud rock music. And so people my age and younger are having hearing problems because we were, exposed. A lot of people went to discotheques. A lot of people, had the loud blaring music out of their cars. And so we are all in a situation where they're going to make a bunch of money off of us by taking care of our hearing. And I'm talking about the pharmaceutical whoever makes hearing aids and stuff, they're going to be making a bunch of money off of us because we all ruined our hearing through those years and years and years. And and I'm completely deaf in one ear, but that has nothing to do with rock music. My dad didn't allow us in our house to listen to rock music, but just the fact that if you go do anything, you heard it. So this new generation that's coming up, I'm worried about their eyesight because we've got screens constantly in front of us. Now, I know that the radiation from phones may affect someone's hearing, may affect other things, and I take that into consideration. We may need that, but as far as learning, we are learning from not just reading books because all growing up one of the big things is turn on the lights. You're going to ruin your eyesight if you read in the dark. And so, and I know a lot of us have problems also because we read growing up. But the future, what is the future going to look like? Putting on the cap of Elon Musk, how are we going to learn the future? Because I don't think learning via computer is sustainable. I think I don't think man was meant to do that. I think we're going to find out that man was truly meant to learn experientially. Now, and what I'm meaning by that is I don't think man was meant to learn just by reading. I don't think it's a good way to learn. When they first came out with books, obviously, when the scribes had to make manuscripts, um, it was a very long process, and most people did not. Through most human history, most people didn't have to read, didn't know how to read, and so what they did was reading was communal. They would have somebody that knew how to read, and it was considered selfish if you would just go into your room and read like this. No, it was a communal thing, and they would actually get together, and people would read as a community. And so there was only one person reading with visually, and the rest were learning by listening, auditory learning. So I think what's going to happen, and this is over many centuries, I'm not saying that this is um, going to happen anytime soon. But if we're going to be good to human beings, we need to go back to learning experientially again. I think that there's always going to be a purpose for books. I think that it's going to be, I don't think this YouTube learning, all your learning done in front of a screen is going to last. First of all, it's not good for you. It's not good to just constantly sit. I mean, I'm not sure schooling is good for you. I mean, where children sit for, 4 to 5 hours a day, I'm not sure that's the future of learning. I don't think the future of learning is screen oriented either. I don't think the human brain or eyes were ever meant to just sit in front of a screen and learn. I don't think it's good for you. So where are we going with this? And I think it's something we can ponder. Um, we need to rethink the how we learn, and I think maybe it's best if we get away from schooling the way we've done it. Schooling was put there so that, and I know schooling has been around for 2002, three. Okay, well, schooling used to be, there were traveling scholars during the Greek and Roman era. They had traveling scholars where the men in the family, that the patriarch of the family would pay for a scholar. If you had enough money, the scholars would come um, and join your family, and they would have a seasonal route. So they would go and they would teach your children, and so schooling was done at home, but it was mainly and they would teach the kids to read, and so you'd have the teacher and the written word, but it was mainly by listening to the scholar. So during the Middle Ages, teaching was often done again by mom and dad, by the priest, by but the only really way you would have learning like anything like what we do today, you would have to live in a university city, um, that the Catholic Church would, you'd have a cathedral, and very often they'd have a university attached to it, and then the children could learn free, sometimes free, and but it was not daily, and it was not until you were older, and uh, it wasn't um, like it is today. It wasn't organized in the same method that we would until you got to the university system. So, and I mean, 16, usually 16 was when you started. So, anyway, we've got then, and I know it's hard to make generalizations because, again, like I told you, all I have is English books to read. And I can't go firsthand to other European Latin language. I don't speak Latin, and that's probably where I would discover most of this. So, in a general sense, the organization of school wasn't like this. Our learning again stayed in the apprentice type of way. You would learn if you were going to be a dentist, you go apprentice under a dentist. If you were going to be a a blacksmith, you would go apprentice underneath a blacksmith, and that is how the humans flourished, I believe, the best is through apprenticeship. I do not think our young boys need to be sitting and I don't want to bash reading books, and I don't want to bash just listening to books being read and being taught by a teacher, but I don't think that's the best way. And I think if most learners learn through experience, most learners, uh, and everybody wants to be with their mom or their father. When little children would much rather be at home with the dad, mom learning. So how are we going to incorporate this system? So if Elon is correct and we don't have to work in the future, maybe the future will be parents teaching their children. And children should learn experientially because what are they going to be learning? They're not going to have to learn how to make money because supposedly that's going to be all gone. But I would say let's have a future where learning is more family oriented, more apprenticeship oriented. We need to get where families stay in the same area and we teach our children via not having a chip implanted in our brain with information. That's not learning. People were meant to learn. They were not meant to have, like Google. This is not good for us. Just have Google implant something that, okay, it's true. AI says grok. And I'm a big fan of Elon Musk. I think, I love what he's doing in many ways. But having the learning experience just taken away from us and having everything implanted into our brains is not good for us and it's going to ruin us. It will actually ruin the human race. We do not need to rely on AI. Right now, we already are dumbing ourselves down because we can't read a map. We can't read handwriting. There's so many things that this is not good for us to AI just to implant stuff in us. So we got to rethink this very seriously on how we learn. And I think going back to the past, to human history, is the way we can go forward. And quit trying to improve upon God's way of us learning. Because that's going to be our destruction. All right. That was all I wanted to say for that topic. And again, I've gone 20 minutes. I thought this was going to take 5. And I do go on. So that's all. And I'm going to get back on and discuss something much more family concerning. And I mean, not my family, but families in general. And I'm going to take on the mom hat. And so take off the Elon hat and the visionary hat and put on mom hat and talk some more. And go look at our YouTube channel. Do the little thing, the smashy thing. Smash the like button. No, I don't. Just touch the like button. And if you're a masculine person and you need to smash it, you just go and smash it. Okay, so and please, I would appreciate if you would. I have a reason. I always have a broad reason why I'm doing things, and I need my YouTube channel to go back to where it was before. I don't need a big, huge audience, but I do need a small audience, and I have some big reasons for this for later. But God bless you all. I love you. Please pray for me because I am praying for you.